And we're trying to facilitate and just navigate this conversation of how funding goes beyond just funding the programs, the fellowships, the challenges, to actually funding the person. So this young leader that you are investing in, building this relationship, the partnership, and the trust between the funders and the young leaders. So I have a couple of young leaders as well, who are representatives of the funders today, who are going to be joining me on this conversation. I'll just take a few minutes to introduce them, and they'll join me on stage. Our first contributor is Malilomo. She's the Senior Director of People for Sub-Saharan Africa at Colgate-Palmolive. She leads the regional execution of the company's global people strategy across a career spanning Investex, Sasol, Unilever, and Colgate-Palmolive. She has worked at the intersection of people, transformation, diversity, and African talent development. Her purpose is captured in a simple commitment to be the voice of those who are not heard. Tumelo, please join me on stage. We're also joined today by Esther Wikali. She's mostly known as Wikali. She's a network executive at Small Foundation, where she grows and supports networks across Africa with a strong focus on systems change. She has helped build investment and entrepreneurial ecosystems through Renew Capital, Growth Africa, and Meta. She works across innovation, startup support, and cross-sector partnership. She's also a founding member of Baraza Media Lab, and she has served on the board of the Association of Startup and SME Enablers of Kenya. Wikali? Okay. I was looking around in the hall for her. All right, and completing the conversation today is Malilomo Nkhabu. She's a community development professional, researcher, and advocate for youth-centered governance and democratic development. She's the regional project assistant at the Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom in Sub-Saharan Africa. She supports work advancing human rights, democracy, governance, and community building. Her experience spans across sustainable development, youth leadership, and active citizenship, and she brings a firm belief in collaboration as a pathway to opportunity and resilient communities. Maddie? Thank you. Okay. So this is honest, reflective conversation. We're not having a serious panel session. We want to have a conversation, and at some point we will ask you to join us in this conversation today. All right. You can have one. Let's have one on this end so we can share between both of you. Okay. Well, this is an all-ladies panel. Hello, ladies. All right. Just to kick us off, three of you, I'm just posing this across, and anyone can start. You all work with organizations that have chosen to invest in youth leadership and leadership development. Do you have a sense of why your organization choose to? I mean, out of all the things that they could have invested in, do you have a reason why they decided to invest in youth? Tumelo, you want to start? Is that on?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, hello everyone. It's great to be here. I'm always excited to be part of the conversation with this organization. We are investing in youth because Africa's the future. We are excited about rewriting the narrative of the continent's potential. We are excited about seeing young people from the African continent be the people that are coming up with sustainable solutions for our continent because they understand them the most. And we're excited about working with young people on the continent because having grown up in the villages, in the communities, and having witnessed firsthand the different challenges that need to be navigated on the continent, the innovations that are coming out of young people in these institutions excite us. Mm-hmm. They're amazing. And we would like for the caliber of talent that's coming out of these institutions to be part of how we grow. Yeah. So that's the reason why we're investing in talent.
Absolutely. Really lovely. Wikali, do you want?
Thank you. So at Small Foundation, 7 years ago, we decided to work on systems change. And so if you go to our website, you'll see 3 big system entry points. Our third one is called System Entry Point 3, changing patterns of empowerment in Africa. What that means, or even bring agency back to the continent, what that means is just investing in leadership where it sits. We do not believe in problems which are being solved by other people who are not in this continent. They should be solved by the people who are in this continent. And for that leadership to be harnessed and growth, we said we need to start it from the beginning. Not when you're in your career, not when you're in a mid, and we support on all different levels, but it's starting from that point, when they come from high school, when they come from university, where can we meet them where they need their needs? And at the same time, if you work with, for us, especially the work that we do, we try and work with you through a whole process. I mean, through the work that I learn, it's trying to work with a whole process from the beginning to the end. And not really to the end, it's pushing you on to the next person, so you never feel alone. And so if you support leadership, you should start from a rudimentary stage, where it all begins, when they start dreaming, when they start hoping.
Yeah. Absolutely. So something you said reminded me of a statement I heard once saying, Africa's biggest problems will be solved by Africans in Africa, and that just reminded me of that. So, Madi?
Thank you for that question. So at the Friedrich Naumann Foundation, we believe that freedom and democracy comes when young people are strengthened and they have platforms where they are able to openly lead in the spaces that they work in or in the communities that they live in. So for us as a foundation, investment in young people speaks to how do we create those spaces where young people have the freedom and the allowance to practice the real leadership that they want to see in their own communities. Because we can't say we want leaders within communities, yet we are not giving the young people the opportunities to practice that leadership, and we are not giving them the resources to practice that leadership, or even giving them the platform where they are able to apply whatever skills they have. So for us, the main goal is to say we want to partner with other organizations who support youth leadership, but also who are willing to put in resources that make sure that these young people are supported throughout their journeys, and they also are able to create the impact that they want to see in their own communities.
Absolutely. And I mean, this is really interesting because you don't just wake up one day and become a leader. It's something that has to be a transformative process, a journey that just happens. So maybe I'll come back to you, Ikali. What have you experienced so far with the young leaders that have been funded or supported through Small Foundation?
Wow. Honestly, sometimes the fact that we were in this session was just beautiful for us because, and I know someone gave that example. There's an example about, I think it was Kur Peter. You don't give the example about coming back from the community that came back.
Yeah.
That's just it. When you've impacted one person and one leader, they will not keep that story to themselves. They'll go and share with their friends, and they'll give them hope. I go back to the word hope because hope is the one thing that this continent has had from the beginning. And once you have that, and we're able to see that, it gives us also the motivation that we are not doing nonsense. We're actually supporting the right kind of folks. So I think that answer is when constantly we see the examples, and I can go with ALN because that's the network we support. When I hear that some of the alumni are working on, they've come up with an idea, they want to think about how we can bring a business around chicken, around dairy. We don't laugh at that because we love that. We're like, what next?
Yeah.
If it fails, what can you do again? How can you pivot first? So for us, it's the fact that they're able to have courage to continuously try again. And I think that's one of the things that we love about the ALN communities, because they're willing to come up with ideas of emergence, solve problems together. And if it doesn't work, they come back and say, this is not working, can we try again? And that is why we love, and those are kind of the examples and stories that we love. It's not there's a nice stories, there are awards, but also it's the point where you sit down and you learn from a problem, that you learn that you have the ability to move about and wiggle room, because that's what gives you the strength to actually move to the next point.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And the domino effect that Gorata was just speaking about is one of the things you've just mentioned. So you transform and impact one leader, and that person transforms or impacts a couple more people, and that's just how it happens. One person is affecting or impacting another 50, and from 50 you could have another 20,000, because if one person can. So that domino effect is something that's very visible in our work. Tumelo, what is one thing you think people mostly misunderstand about funding or supporting young leaders?
The one thing people misunderstand about funding. So I'm not coming from a funding background. I'm coming from a corporate background where the investment essentially is in skills development.
Yeah.
My takeaway from the group discussions that we had today is a lot of people were speaking about beyond the financial. Mm-hmm. What happens beyond the financial? Sometimes the financial funding is not necessarily all that young people need to get things going. Mm-hmm. My biggest, and I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but I'm going to just give this takeaway because it was a huge realization for me, is the role that corporate organizations can play in assisting young people, such as the ones in this room, to realize their full potential, to develop skills, to learn things like financial literacy, to learn things like dealing with stakeholders, managing, their enterprises in an ethical and compliant manner, mentorship, opening up of networks. The message that I would like to leave the people in the room, and what excites me about partnerships like we are trying to cultivate with ALA, is on your journey to entrepreneurship, beyond the funding, consider a stint in a corporate organization, an internship, join one of the graduate development programs we're trying to establish with organizations such as these, because beyond the financial, the skills that you will learn in a corporate environment are going to hold you in incredibly good stead on your journey.
Absolutely true. And it's so interesting how these themes keep recurring, because I saw a post recently and someone said, no matter how much of entrepreneurship or innovation you want to do, I think you should do at least a year or two in corporate to teach you accountability, to teach you collaboration, to teach you integrity and how to hold yourself to the things that you said you are going to do. And that's something that's very important as well. And it's great because, with ALA and ACN, we have these versions of what that corporate world can look like with the sector challenges and the short-term internships and the fellowships, so that you get to understand what it's like to report to someone, what it's like to work with other people, because these are the things that will recur, even if you were to be running your own thing. You learn these things and then you take them with you, all right? Madi, do you want to take a little stab at that? So what is the one thing that you think that people misunderstand the most about funding programs that develop young people?
So from my side, I think that what most people think about is that we only care about numbers as funders, and that we focus on just putting in the money, and we want to see that by the end of the year or by the end of the period, there's a track record of this is how many young people we've reached, or this is how many geographical places we've been able to scale to. And in my space of work, what I've realized that what stays with us as funders is that the stories will always remain. Us hearing a story that an alumni went back to their community and they're starting a project, they are mentoring other young people, looking at a young person going back into their community, becoming an entrepreneur, and implementing and creating opportunities where other young people are able to get jobs from whatever program they're implementing. but also looking at, from the political and governance side of things, young people going back into their communities and making sure that the government is accountable to what they say they want to do as government. So for us, is understanding that program development or getting into programs that develop young people is not going to be linear. Some of the programs that we do, we only see impact after 5, 10 years. So we can't say we want numbers only, but we want to see how sustainability is created and how the work that we want to do with different partners creates impact. And even if it's just small impact, but how do we come back 10 years later and say, these are the young people that went through the different programs that we ran, and these are the opportunities they've created, this is the sustainability they have in their communities, and this is the impact we can showcase, and this is where our money went, and we can definitely say we have done the good work that we wanted to do.
Absolutely. Impact is not linear. It's not immediate. Because, I mean, you will move from the input to the activities, and sometimes it can be 10, 15, 20 years later. And if we're just measuring by the numbers, we'll miss out on the transformative stories that can be gotten out of those. Wikali, I'm coming back to you. Just our last question as we round this up before we get questions from the audience. One of the words that has come up a lot in this whole conversation is trust and accountability. I think I heard it in at least, well, maybe all the tables. And what does it look like for there to be shared trust between funders and partners and the young leaders?
It has to work both ways. But if I'm being very honest, it has to start, a big chunk has to come from the funder side. The reason why I'm saying this is we took a network approach 7 years ago to move away from, not that there's any issue with programmatic funding, to move away from programmatic funding by giving unrestricted funding to some of our partners. And it's not because we wanted to. It's because when we took that network approach, we were forced to do it. For you to see change that lasts a lifetime, that goes 5 to 7 years, you can't tell them, because you're the baker, I'm not gonna go and tell you, add sugar, salt, flour. You know the cake that you're baking. So we will be like, go and bake the cake and let's see. If it gets burnt in the oven, come back and tell us quickly. So we change the oven if there's anything that. So first, the funder has to decide that they're willing to take the risk, and not everyone takes the risk. And we understand that there's a lot of funding out there that can't take the risk, and there's some that can't take the risk. So I think that's one thing also folks should understand. So luckily for Atlas Smalls Foundation being able to take the risk, and that's why we took network approach. But then at the same time, we created an environment where trust only comes if there's open communication. And I'm not saying that we're perfect, but we said that, tell us when it's on fire. Or tell us if you're seeing the fire coming, or something has happened. So I think that's where we got to that point, and where we said, if you want to iterate anything, please let us know. And so that when you created that, they could feel like they're not talking to a funder, they're feeling like you're working with them, not waiting for the results at the end, at that point. You're standing side by side by them. So that means also funders need to put themselves in the shoes of what they're doing, interact with them on the ground, go and understand what their problems are, not from reading reports from a laptop I live in Nairobi. We support rural economies. Go down to Kakuma, go down to Ajir, be there with them. That's the only way some of these trusts will work, because they will know, okay, this funder is not just in for the numbers, they're actually in for the actual goal of it. And also at the end of the day, if things fall apart, both of you should take the blame. So it's not just one side. And I think that's one thing that we should have moving forward. Also on the partner side, be ready for the hard questions. Because this is other people's money. Be ready for those questions and how can we mitigate this? And it's not a question in terms of we are trying to ask you to take the blame. No, we're just trying to understand how can we solve it from then. So be very honest. And most times, if you have that relationship from the get-go, you end up actually building a better program, a better business. So that's what we think about trust-based funding.
I think the one thing I'm taking from all of that is a willingness to take the risk, to invest. You are not sure of what that outcome can look like. It may or may not go well, but the willingness to be able to invest in young people in that manner. That's, yeah. So just as we close out, one or two words, how do you think we can move from just funding, just giving money, to building long-term partnerships? So let's go beyond, this is year one, this is how much we're giving you, deliver to us and give us impact numbers. How do we go on to build long-lasting partner relationships?
Do you want to go? Okay. So again, not from a funding perspective, but from a corporate perspective. Yeah. Like I said before, building long-lasting partnerships, I think we have to have the same vision. One of the reasons why I'm excited about the partnership with ALA is your approach to teaching is centered around purpose. Mm-hmm. And we're very much about that within my organization, at least. Mm-hmm. So I think if we're aligned on purpose and the reason why we need to contribute towards the progression of talent on the continent, I think we're going to go a long way. So so that would be my contribution there.
Absolutely, collaborative. Madi, last bit.
So from my side, I believe that leadership development needs to look at organizations being more collaborative, because when you look at development, no single organization can tackle all the challenges that we have. Yeah. So if we're not able to collaborate, then it means you're just working on a small project, and that's the small impact you're creating. But if we collaborate, then it's easier for us to scale, it's easier for us to create more impact, and it's easier for us to not just touch one community, but to touch more communities. So we're looking at how do we partner with government, how do we partner with civil society, how do we partner with private sector, and also just making sure that we bring on board the young people that we want to develop, because we can't have development without the young people. They need to be a part of it and within the development, because they are the brains. Yeah. They are the ones who are driving the impact in the community. So if we're not bringing them to be part of this development that we want to create, then the collaborations we're doing, or even the programs that we're implementing, then might not be as impactful as we want them to be.
Absolutely. Yeah. What I'm hearing from that is nothing about us without us. So if you are creating for young persons and they're not part of the table where the discussions and the negotiations are happening, then who are you really creating for? All right, we're going to take a few questions from the audience. Wow, okay. I already see hands.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I think I saw this one first.
1, 2.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi.
My name is Rufaro, and I wanted to find out, because the entry points to find partnerships, especially from a funding perspective or even partnering with corporate sector, can feel in many ways very restrictive. So when you go with a network-based way of finding partners, we find the same organizations or the same individuals continuously getting large tracts of funding or support, and no entry points for other maybe smaller organizations, and then you become very dependent on that. So I'm keen to know, especially from like Small Foundation and Friedrich Naumann Foundation as well, is in what ways do you open up beyond the existing networks and knowledge base that you have to provide opportunities for maybe some of the people who wouldn't even be able to understand how to step into this room?
Okay. So
I'll give it a try.
All right.
Thank you, Rufaro, for that question. So what is most important for us as a funder is that we definitely would like to have a track record of an organization that comes to us and says, we're looking for funding. Yeah. So what has worked for us in the past is looking at organizations that have a good track record, that is willing to partner with another smaller organization that is doing an entry level to say, we want to try this youth development work and we have never done any implementation, but this is something that we're really passionate about, and we have these young people and this good project or proposal that we have. So partnering the organizations for us is mostly very important. For example, I would give an example of a program that we're currently doing with the African Leadership University, where we're partnering with them through the Technical University of Munich, which is a university that has been in existence for many, many years, and they've done a lot of work around entrepreneurship and exposing young people to an ecosystem of funders and investors. So we're pairing the two institutions to say, how do we bring you guys together to share experiences, to share ecosystems, and to share partners, so that ALU, as young as it is, it can come in and get African entrepreneurs into the Europe market to get more funders, more opportunities for investment, and grow beyond what it is currently.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Wikali, do you have any words to add?
Yeah, that's a hard question, but actually that's my job. And I tell people, reach out to everyone. Most people will actually respond to you on email or even try and talk to you, and the worst answer you can get is no, a quick answer, no. But one of the things that we do in our organization is we try and expose ourselves as much as possible. We also support very specific networks, I must mention, and I'm happy to discuss that later, but we go where those conversations are happening, and we take glucose and we go and we try and talk to whoever we can. And actually, we changed our model a bit recently. We are now supporting networks who just set up their organization, who are just trying to figure it out. And we work with them maybe 12 months, and then we help them on their leadership element, and then we move forward with them. So we have stages. So we actually like the ones who start from the beginning, because that's when they either think if they want to be a network or not, if they want to move on or not. So actually for us, we want to know, and it's our job to actually get out there to find those people. So it's up to us, and we're always open for connections. If you ever know a network that you find is doing amazing work on this continent, I will give my email. Feel free to share to me and tell me, Mwikali, just have a look at them. And then I'll say whether it's a good fit or not, depending on our strategy. Also, you have some strategies also work and don't, but I'm always open, if that helps.
Amazing.